And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho. We're starting things out looking at the sun here in 171 angstroms. Sunspot 2765 has degraded as we forecasted, or perhaps cited in yesterday's videos, from a beta delta sunspot all the way down to an alpha. But it's still got significant size. It's about the diameter of the Earth right now. And no significant flares coming out of that as it degrades and degrades. Everybody had a boner on the internet over that filament, which didn't even erupt. It collapsed back down onto the chromosphere. We also see an active region there, a plage in the northern latitudes, just moving into the setting phase. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch, and Helio viewers down, so let's hope they get that squared away soon. Here's another view. It's a 48-hour SDO video like the last one in 193 angstroms. A couple coronal holes there around the equator. We see a very steady solar wind over the past 24 hours. A slight ramp down as we forecasted. And let's show you yesterday's Helio viewer movie, since it turned out so good and it's got such a great view of the filamentary eruption. And this sunspot group did produce some M-class flares before it even was fully risen in the east. 2 M-class flares, the largest solar flares in 2 years and 8 months. So as we watch that degrade and set, sunspot 2765. KP index is at 2. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is back down to 71. So a decrease in solar activity. Did you know it's hardly a week until the solstice? Where did all the time go? Was your time wasted by the government? Well, don't waste your time by not watching our live stream, which will be happening at this time. That's June 20th at 5:43 p.m. our time, and that's on a Saturday. We'll be hanging out for about an hour and a half, I would expect, and we'll start the stream at something like 5:15 p.m. So join us, facebook.com/smAshomash, as well as twitch.tv/smAshomash, and also here on YouTube, or there on YouTube. Eventually the stuff will get uploaded to BitChute in some form, and if you need the screen share, then use the Twitch. That'll be included in the screen share. The other 2 sources will just have cameras, so that'll be the Solstice Stream 2020, and we will feature a call-in segment or 2 perhaps. So put our smAsho VoIP line in your contacts. The numbers, if you're out of the U.S., +1 610 936 9799. And if you're in the U.S., area code 610 936 Let's move out a little bit farther from home here and talk about space. A frontier. These are the voyages of the things in our solar system over the next week. There's where things will be on the 18th, God willing. And next we've got a cosmology segment. It's going to be pretty short because I don't really have a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to cosmology today, except that we've got a whole playlist of cosmology segments with over 60 videos. 63 actually right now in the cosmology playlist. If you want to check it out yourself, youtube.com/smAshomash. Scroll down, click on the cosmology segment. It's actually 65 videos. And if you don't want to instantly view it by accident like I just did, just click View Full Playlist. Topics include telomeres, petroglyphs, human health stories, Omasa gas, as well as long videos of the sun set to original music, such as this one here. Wait, which one where? Anyway, we've got a long video. We've got actually one with Eugene Bagashov that's in there also. about the theories of everything, so check out cosmology. Now, yesterday we talked about transients, and check it out. Cygnus X3 is dropping down into a very quiescent state here, and I don't know what is going on. Hey, Epic Pen, stop lagging up my system. Check out the low state there, Cygnus X3. This would be off the graph down here. And it perked up, and then it went right back down into a very low quiescent state, one of the only known point sources for cosmic ray flux, Cygnus X3. It's just the most luminous intrinsic object visible from our solar system, otherwise known as Deneb, the tail of the swan. For some reason, Göbekli Tepe is oriented to it. We also talked about cosmic rays yesterday on yesterday's daily space weather video. If you want to watch it, well, go watch our other videos. They're on BitChute. They're on YouTube. Let's talk about, once again, an antibiotic known as Teixobactin, a game changer that could be a cure for MRSA. Shout out to everybody in the healthcare industry. MRSA is a huge problem in hospitals and nursing homes. Let's hope that isn't a pipe dream. Next, looking at locations of things like stars and planets in the sky, which is the website I like to use, in-the-sky.org. And if you're up before sun, you might see Venus, Mars, the Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter all up there at the same time. So 4 planets visible at the same time. Cheers. Let's get back to data. Here's the GOES X-ray flux. It's pretty flatlined. Proton flux, similarly flatlined. No surprises there. How about the real-time solar wind? Pretty uneventful. And we do see some fleeting connections with those coronal holes, probably in these areas. We see a ramp down of the solar wind density and a ramp down of the solar wind speed as forecasted yesterday. Current conditions are solar wind speed 433 kilometers per second. Solar wind density 2.65, so back to background levels, and they are very low. And I am more frozen than Walt Disney's head. All right, looking at the density here in the geospace magnetosphere movies, and we see those waves of lower and lower density coming in. Keep in mind, folks, on this graph, on this, what would you call it? A visualization model. Low density is shown in white and high density is shown in dark blue. That's the scale. And you can see that reduction in the solar wind density there over the past 4 hours. Here's pressure, and we'll see quite a uniform pressure here as we see both the solar wind density and speed dropping down at the same time. And please pardon me, I'm going to have to step aside for a quick moment. Ah, yes. And let's look at some more data. Ground geospace magnetic perturbations are next. And again, I'll be right back. Nothing really too eventful happening there as far as I can tell. It's pretty basic. We do cover that daily, by the way. GOES magnetometer readings. There you have them. We did see an arc jet moment there. Could be associated with cosmic ray flux. Who knows? It's not really associated with any significant monkey business with the solar wind. And next, here's the Gong 2 data. So, as forecasted, we remain solidly in the North Pole current sheet, shown here in green. However, we could snap out of that at any moment, since the magnetic environment can suddenly change with zero warning, at least so far. And we are working on creating systems with which to create a warning if there's any necessity to do so. Anyway, we could snap back into the South Pole current sheet at any moment. And if you see that, you should see sudden changes in the magnetometer and the BTBZ on the solar wind data. So the top pane on the solar wind, the BTBZ, should elicit that, as well as the GOES magnetometer. And if that sunspot suddenly degrades, that's what will happen. Next, looking at the line of sight field plot, and you're going to see most of the distortions here in the B field have returned to normal, as it looks similar to the B field on this side. A little bit of distortion also over there as a result of that active plage. Nothing to write home about here. Let's move on, as there's plenty of more stuff to cover, such as the relativistic electrons as reported by Solon.info. And check out the steady redux in electron flux. There's the GOES electron flux. That's the past 3 days. And you can see it's cratered. And if we're going to see an increase in the electron flux, it should be coming soon, as we now have a very low density incoming solar wind. So don't be surprised if you see that rise up. Here's a total electron content forecast in visual format, I should say. And please bear with me for one moment. Looks like GPSs will be working fine. And next is the ionosphere. Here's the ionosphere map. This is 6 hours of data. And it's looking quite discharged on the sun-facing side. Nothing to really write home about there either. And there's the current image, 8:45 Universal Time. Quite discharged on the sun side there. And in this image, the sun is probably around this location here. It's usually slightly ahead of the peak. In other words, the peak zone usually trails the sun by a bit. Next, earthquakes. And I missed one yesterday. I apologize for that. It was a 6.7 magnitude by Fiji? I don't know how I missed it, but somehow I did, allegedly. And we see a big quake here over the past 24, a 6.0 at the South American-African plate boundary. All right. And let's go up the list. And what do we have here? A deep quake at Afghanistan, a 4.1 at 161.9 kilometers depth. 4.1 magnitude, 161 kilometers is the depth. And we've seen quite a few deep quakes in Afghanistan over the past couple of years. Geez, how long have we been doing this, folks? A couple of years already? Please leave a comment if you remember when we started our channel with fake news weather reports. Remember that? We got to make a playlist for those. And make some new ones, of course, because they'll be a little better now. And next we're going to volcano discovery, and I heard a report that there was a 63,000 foot eruption. How did I miss that? And how am I missing stuff, period? You'd think it would have showed up on our list, since I look at it daily. And let's see what we have here. I can't even remember which volcano it was. Please leave a comment if you saw a 63,000 foot stratospheric injection. Over the past couple of days. Anyway, current list includes Kluchevskoy, 20,000 foot flight level there, Abiko flight level 15,000 there, Samaru flight level 13,000 there, Sangay exploding, flight level 22,000 there. Please don't pole vault that caldera. Revenador exploding, flight level 15,000 there, Sabancaya exploding. Flight level 25,000 there, and Nevados de Chilean produced a dense dark ash plume, which reached 12,000 feet above sea level. Please don't fly your John Denver style aircraft over that. Are you made in China? Are you made in China? Are you made of cheap plastic from China? Or are you made of sterner stuff? Do you have PPE training? part of the reason why PPE is highly ineffective with the civilian population is because civilians don't know how to use PPE. Now, I'm a bit of an expert. I used to do hardwood flooring, and in the realm of hardwood flooring, when people are sanding your floor, if they're not wearing the proper kind of mask, they are inhaling polyurethane, not to mention the wood, which isn't particularly good for you either, as well as possibly linseed oil or other stains. Those things are bad, and you don't want to do it. So since the late 90s, I knew all about PPE because I had to buy my own because I worked for a contractor, and I didn't want to breathe in stuff that would kill me in a very short period of time. So hardwood floor refinishing and installation is a very lucrative and very rewarding experience, in that you take an old floor often, if you refinish it especially, which looks terrible, and you make it look like a brand new floor, and sometimes even a weathered floor, depending on how old it is and what it's made out of. You know, an old pine floor refinishes totally differently than an old red oak floor, and an old walnut floor is just, well, I've never worked on one of those. We did install a maple floor once. Anyway, I know a bit about PPE, and I knew about PPE quite extensively, as well as hazmat handling and so on, long before I worked for a science company. So while I work for a science company now, back then I was a restaurant manager and a mountain bike racer. So yeah, PPE is great, especially if you know how to use it, and especially if you use it effectively. If you use it ineffectively, or you don't know how to use it, period, it's a complete waste of resources, much like a lot of these TikTok videos, which feature doctors and nurses and surgeons and interns and home health aides and all kinds of idiots dancing around, doing a highly produced and highly choreographed dance, wasting PPE time, money, and energy. I understand that they have to get their amusement in, but often these videos shockingly include patients sitting around, and let's just move on. If you're using PPE and you don't know how to use it, you are a COVIDiot. Iran plans to sink a huge U.S. carrier replica. So Iran's going to talk about how it's defeated the U.S. I can't wait to watch a video about this one. They've built this giant ship made out of cardboard, essentially, and then they're going to fire spitballs out of some sort of series of weapons systems to impress the Iranian people, who are going to be like, yeah, you destroyed the U.S. Let's talk about hypersonic missiles, an idiotic story that's been in the news lately. Let me explain to you why it's idiotic. If you know anything about weapons systems, you'll probably understand that the first hypersonic missile was not invented until, wait for it, wait longer for it, wait even longer for it, World War II. Yes, the V-2 rocket was the first object mankind sent into space. Ever heard of Wernher von Braun? The V-2 rocket, a terror weapon from World War II, which could not hit a target directly enough to be considered a real strategic or tactical weapon, was the first object mankind ever sent into space. When that re-entered Earth, it was probably traveling at supersonic speeds, which made it slightly more dangerous because nobody could shoot it down. See, the V-1 could be shot down or even pushed out of the sky by a regular old plane. But the V-2, because it came from space, it was probably traveling at least tens of thousands of miles per hour, which is well beyond the speed of sound, which means you don't hear it coming. It shows up before the sound does, which makes it kind of spooky. Hypersonic missiles aren't scary and have been around since World War II. All re-entry vehicles used to deploy nuclear weapons, like Minuteman III, Atlas, etc., all of these things, not Atlas. I think Atlas actually uses some of the same rockets. Anyway, the point is, all nuclear weapons which go into space and re-enter are already hypersonic missiles. And hypersonic missiles are not a thing that is relevant in any way. So stop freaking out about hypersonic missiles. Although, let's talk about wasting money. One of the largest bureaucracies in the whole world is the U.S. military. Check it out. Apparently a US B-52 bomber has lost an experimental hypersonic missile over California. What could possibly go wrong? I'll tell you what could go wrong. Okay. China. China could go wrong. China. China. Are you scared of China? Well, you shouldn't be, because it's a paper tiger. So in any case, folks, can I just put out some positivity? Make America not suck again. It's up to you. Let's talk about imagination. Your imagination of a police station will not deter a home invasion. If you defund cops, then racism stops? Imagination. Seattle, the shithole, does it burn? Every decade or two. Violence to solve violence. Will anybody ever learn? Warlords shouldn't run our cities, but if you'd like to experiment, feel free. It won't be pretty. Do you follow us on Instagram? You may never see things like this if you don't.
Those tubes going in, I just don't know. I don't know if anybody knows.
He said tubes going in. You may never see images like this either. So anyway, get outside. Stop viewing YouTube after this video is complete and get outside. Maybe follow us on Twitter before you do that. We've got our imagination meme up there, as well as our brilliant poetry. And also feel free to check out smashomash.com/forum. It's totally free. So far. We've got forums on cosmology, Earth and geophysics, general science, the sun. New users. And welcome. It's a free-for-all. And we're over 1,200 users already. Unbelievable. If you want to contribute, log in. Otherwise, you don't even need to log in. But thanks for everybody who did. Please put something up in the dream log, or perhaps go read about Cygnus X3. What you don't want to do is have a drink from Bill Cosby. I don't know why that was even there. Oh, it's because our dream log featured a reference to Bill Cosby. Are you aware of our branding? Were you aware that we have a show called The Diamond Anvil Too Hard to Smash? Well, it's true. It's true. It was conceived by somebody besides me. And there is a playlist. Let's check out the weather.gov. What do we have here? Has there been honey mustard raining down from the sky? Nope, it's a high wind watch. A fire weather watch. And a special weather statement. What is up with that? How special is it? Son of a beehive. There's going to be things occurring. And let me just move on. To look at the jet streams. As I often don't know my own weather above my own head. Because I make these videos for people like you. Speaking of people like you, leave a comment if you've felt the need or desire to. We read all of them, no matter how idiotic they might be, or they could be brilliant. Anyway, there's the jet streams. Interesting anticyclone over central Canada, as well as backwards jet stream flow over the South Atlantic. The northern Gulf of, the northern, I don't know what that would be. The area between North Carolina and Bermuda. Anyway, folks, the jet stream normally moves consistently west to east, and here we see it moving east to west in two locations. Here are the jets of the east. And it looks like some clear, windy sky conditions over northeastern Australia. Doubled up and tripled up jets on both hemispheres are a normal thing nowadays. Let's look at pressure cells. Here's where they are now. We're going to advance this via the GFS forecast to where we expect them to be around noon tomorrow, on Friday. How did it? There's where we think things will be at 3 p.m. on Friday, my time. And again, if you're wondering where I'm located, thanks to new viewers, we're located in eastern Pennsylvania. Next, looking at water vapor maps here for Europe and Africa. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. Lightning maps. Quite a lot of lightning right now around the Mediterranean. And heads up to Salta. Hey, Salta, there's a lot of thunder rolling in. Although there's no lightning striking at Salta. Perhaps check out lightningmaps.org next time you hear thunder. It's quite interesting, to say the least. Next, looking at the U.S. Doppler radar to show some rain rolling over me right now, preventing my bike ride. I'm going to do a rare weather forecast for myself. And let's play the animation here. And that is lies right there. That is pure lies. So I will be riding the bike regardless. It's not raining out there, even though the Doppler radar says it is. And I'm not going to get into the physics of why that happens. I'm just going to move on to show you the cloud cover. There's the cloud cover. According to the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite's shortwave radiation. It's what we use to see clouds at nighttime. And let's see how cloudy it is. I'll bet I can't see Venus. Although I might be able to, it's going to be interesting. Let's animate it. And lastly, we're going to look at the water vapor, which is a very good indication of what will be happening in the future. And we see it's going to cool down a little bit here in Pennsylvania as the jet stream pushes some colder air in a nicely formed west to east pattern here. So it'll dry out within a few hours where I'm located. Please leave a comment if we've helped you understand the difference between dry air and moist air and which is more massive. And here's a close-up of Pennsylvania. If you haven't been, stop by the bike riding. Trexlertown, Pennsylvania. Trexlertown is one of the largest cycling meccas in the world. We don't screw around, and neither does the Smash team, so thanks for sharing the content on your social media, etc. Try to be positive, and we appreciate your viewing the content. We've got bonus features, but first we'd like to thank our subscribe stars and our patrons. Here's the latest update of Sunspot 2765, and it is still alpha class. It has not shrunk significantly since yesterday, so watch that thing continue on. Here's the magnetic field, and when I say field, it's because the Umbra only has one field associated with it. And it's still quite well defined, and it probably won't suddenly vanish, although it has the capability to do so, because we say it all the time. The magnetic environment can change with basically zero warning. Finally, we're going to look at a 48-hour video here in 171 angstroms. It's from the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and it is about that time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks everybody who viewed the live premiere. Thanks everybody who viewed on BitChute. Thanks all the viewers on Twitch. Please leave us a comment regardless of which format you viewed it on. Please don't forget to share on your social media. We've got a lot more things to do this year, and if you think we're in a rut on this channel, you ain't seen nothing yet. So we'll talk to you soon. Remember, stare at the sun. Don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. Or just don't drive, period. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back and that covidiouscy absent from your community.